Well, I can see that a handful of you are watching and perhaps listening to the, these videos I've been making about this Fiducia Supplicans, the document that came out from the Vatican on the 18th. It's now the 21st. And I appreciate that. And hopefully you can share and recognize also I've created a playlist also to kind of keep these all in sequence. As I mentioned yesterday, I don't really want to stir up a tempest in a teacup if that's what's really happening, but I think what's going on here is at all levels is ambiguity. We see it in the document, whether the ambiguity of whether they're talking about blessing individuals who just happen to be in a gay couple or whether they're blessing the couples. We're seeing the various diocesan interpretations of this new church policy, the way they're being laid down to the people. Some just kind of using it as a chance to kind of wave the rainbow flag, and some saying hell no, we won't go, resisting the Pope and the Vatican. I pray this is not a schism in the church, but if it is, maybe it's just been a long time coming, and maybe it needs to happen. I don't know, but I found a couple things on Twitter last night that I think we should talk about, and maybe I'll just choose one more section of the Fiducia Supplicans to talk about today. We can see one, Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria, concerning Fiducia Supplicans, a declaration by the Dicastery for the Propagation of the Faith on the Pastoral Meaning of Blessings in the Church. This is from the Archbishop of Owerri, Lucas Iwajuru Ugorji, and the Bishop of Uromi, Donatus A. Ogun. I know I've probably mispronounced those, and I apologize. But this one caught my eye simply because in my home parish, we had Nigerian priests for over 10 years. It felt like to me over 10 years. Actually, a co-parishioner last night said they've been here 9 years. And they left this year. They were assigned to other parishes, but we had the good fortune of having a Nigerian pastor and a few priests that he was supervising here at our home parish. And we learned a lot about what's going on in Nigeria because these priests would sometimes take holidays and go back and see their family and friends and fellow church brethren there in Nigeria. The gist of it is that Christians are undergoing genocide there. It's pretty bad. And there's also just the stuff going on in the world. Western powers have been exploiting that region for gain for a long time. Pray for our brothers and sisters in Nigeria. Anyway, there are 6 paragraphs here, and I don't know if they represent, the attitude of all of Africa. I've heard on the news. I heard something about all the priests, in Malawi or Malawi, I think it's how pronounced, who are really saying, "Hell no, we won't go," to the Pope here. But the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria, paragraph 1. Following the issuance of the Declaration on the Pastoral Meaning of Blessings, Fiducia Supplicans, parentheses, pleading with courage, by the Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith, we, the members of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria, recognize our duty as pastors to clarify the content of the document given the various nuances of interpretation that has already been given. Paragraph 2. The Declaration seeks to clarify the different forms of blessing that can be given to persons and objects in the Catholic Church, including the possibility of blessing persons in irregular unions. Such unions include, but are not limited to, divorced and remarried couples whose previous marriages had not been annulled, those living in same-sex unions, those in polygamous unions, in concubinage, etc. Paragraph 3. The Declaration acknowledges and carefully distinguishes between ritual, liturgical, and informal blessings. While ritual or liturgical blessings are imparted according to the established norms of the Church, informal blessings refer to prayers over people who ask for them outside the liturgy or any formal celebration in the Church. The Declaration offers a consideration of the possibility of extending the informal blessing to all God's children, irrespective of their moral condition, when they ask to be blessed. Nevertheless, the Declaration insists that the blessing of persons in irregular unions, and never the union itself, can only take a non-liturgical form to avoid confusion. It should not be imparted during or in connection with a civil wedding ceremony or with clothing, words, and signs associated with the wedding. Paragraph 4. The Declaration reiterates the Catholic Church's perennial teaching on marriage as an exclusive, stable, and indissoluble union of a man and woman, naturally open to the generation of children, and emphatically states that the Church does not have the power to impart a blessing on irregular unions. 5. The Declaration also reinforces the truth about God's mercy. For one to willingly ask for a blessing demonstrates one's trust in God and the desire to live according to God's commandments. Asking for God's blessing is not dependent on how good one is. Imperfection is the reason for seeking God's grace. Therefore, those in irregular unions are invited never to lose hope, but rather to ask for God's grace and mercy while remaining open to conversion. Paragraph 6. In conclusion, the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria assures the entire people of God that the teaching of the Catholic Church on marriage remains the same. There is, therefore, no possibility in the Church of blessing same-sex unions and activities. That would go against God's law, the teachings of the Church, the laws of our nation, and the cultural sensibilities of our people. The Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria thanks all the priests for their accompaniment of married couples, asking them to continue in all they do to sustain the sacrament of holy matrimony and never to do anything that would detract from the sacredness of this sacrament. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Amen. We wish everyone a Merry Christmas. Now, if only the Fiducia Supplicans itself were so clearly written, this certainly seems to basically take the same stance as the Vatican, but make the language much clearer. I disagree that the language is clear, but we can now infer that there's the dioceses in Nigeria are kind of going with the Pope on this, and the ones in Malawi are not, right? So there's some division happening. Let's see. I downloaded something else, but where is the source? Okay. This was something I found on from Bishop Barron. I don't know if you know who Bishop Barron is, but he's done a lot of YouTube videos on various topics, and for the most part, he seems to have some common sense. Although he, in this is a short, just a 2-paragraph thing. I believe he also is kind of being an apologist for the Pope also. So the first paragraph of Bishop Barron says, on Monday, the Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith, with the approval of Pope Francis, published a declaration entitled Fiducia Supplicans, which has given rise to a good deal of commentary and controversy. The document allows for the possibility of blessing those in irregular or same-sex relationships. Despite some misleading reporting in the media, Fiducia Supplicans in no way sanctions irregular bonds or changes the Church's teaching on marriage and sexuality. It further specifies that no liturgical blessing can be offered to those in such unions, but rather an informal pastoral blessing. This latter benediction is a calling forth of the divine grace to help those who receive it to live more fully in accord with God's will and to enhance whatever is good, true, and beautiful in their lives. I believe that the declaration is very much congruent with the pastoral instincts of Pope Francis, who always wants to remind those who are living the Christian life in a less than perfect way that they are, nevertheless, loved and cherished by God. To all of Jesus' brothers and sisters, the Church should never fail to be a source of welcome, compassion, and blessing. Well, what we also saw yesterday, we saw this picture spreading online of, I think it's the Reverend James Martin blessing a same-sex couple, blessing two people at once, and notice they are holding hands, right? So that's contradictory to this message of, well, in the ones from Nigeria are saying it should not be imparted during or in connection with a civil wedding ceremony or with clothing, words, and signs associated with a wedding. Holding hands is a sign, is it not? So, in practice, what we're seeing, I think, is a taking advantage of the ambiguous language of the Vatican text. And it just has me wondering, why is the text so ambiguous, right? So, I'm looking at the Fiducia Supplicans itself, and looking at the next section. We covered the introduction yesterday, but section 1 has paragraphs 4, 5, and 6 in it, so that'll help us keep this video short. And section 1 is called The Blessing in the Sacrament of Marriage. So paragraph 4, Fiducia Supplicans. Pope Francis's recent response to the second of the 5 questions posed by 2 cardinals offers an opportunity to explore this issue further, especially in its pastoral implications. It is a matter of avoiding that something that is not marriage is being recognized as marriage. Therefore, rites and prayers that could create confusion between what constitutes marriage, which is the exclusive, stable, and indissoluble union between a man and a woman naturally open to the generation of children, and what contradicts it, are inadmissible. This conviction is grounded in the perennial Catholic doctrine of marriage. It is only in this context that sexual relations find their natural, proper, and fully human meaning. The Church's doctrine on this point remains firm. That's good, strong language, but further down, this language does seem to be contradicted. We're not going to go too much further down today. Paragraph 5, Fiducia Supplicans. This is also the understanding of marriage that is offered by the gospel. For this reason, when it comes to blessings, the Church has the right and the duty to avoid any rite that might contradict this conviction or lead to confusion. Such is also the meaning of the responsum of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, which states that the Church does not have the power to impart blessings on unions of persons of the same sex. So there, paragraph 5 is the phrase that they don't want to contradict this conviction or lead to confusion. However, we are confused, are we not? We are confused. And paragraph 6, Fiducia Supplicans, it should be emphasized that in the rite of the sacrament of marriage, this concerns not just any blessing, but a gesture reserved to the ordained minister. In this case, the blessing given by the ordained minister is tied directly to the specific union of a man and a woman. The union of a man and a woman who established an exclusive and indissoluble covenant by their consent. This fact allows us to highlight the risk of confusing a blessing given to any other union with the rite that is proper to the sacrament of marriage. So, in the Vatican document, we see, at least in this first section, the blessing and the sacrament of marriage, that they're kind of outlining their intent to, make it clear that these blessings are not for the couples, right? I mean, it's not to bless these unholy unions. However, we see evidence to the contrary, right? We see evidence to the contrary all over social media. So what the heck is going on here? Why are bishops representing bishops and archbishops? Why are some of them just being apologists for the Vatican's very ambiguously worded and deliberately confusing document? And why are some bishops standing up and saying, we're not going to take it? So, heck, it's not even Sunday yet, but it's been quite a week, has it not? So I think we're going to wrap this brief video up here. And I think tomorrow we'll talk about possibly the longest section in the Fiducia, which is the meaning of the various blessings, and maybe just see what kind of news reports come out today. What's going on with this? What is the reality of these blessings, right? So let's try not to overreact, but at the same time, let's keep our eyes open, our ears open, and just let's not take the Papal Apologists' word at face value right now. There is just too much at stake, right? There are souls at stake. Anyway, thank you for taking time to listen to this. Please like, share, subscribe, and please comment, ask questions. And I'm happy to kind of explore any angle to this topic that you like. All right. Have a blessed pre-Christmas week.